I don't know if I'll ever publish this, but I thought we would start with just some movement without a stick, and then start and go through the stick movements a little bit more. If you guys have any questions about the 30 movements, I'll do my best to give you the sort of technical details. But for now, let's just, I'm going to start this the way I start my kids' classes, which is just standing, feet about shoulder width apart. Check that your toes are pointing straight ahead, and that if you bend your legs, your knees are going out over your toes and not out to the sides or in the middle. And swing your hips side to side, swing them front to back. Try and let that swing go through your whole body loosely. So you're not really swinging your arms, but you're swinging your whole hips, and your arms might move because of that. And let it settle, let it settle. Imagine that your tailbone is pointing at the ground, and now tip it back and tip it forward and let it settle so that it's pointing at the ground again. Head up. You're looking at the horizon evenly, turning your head side to side, side to side, side to side. Look up, look down, look up, look down, straight ahead. One ear over to the side, one ear over to the side. And taking a step forward into Hanmi. Check that your knee is over the middle of your foot. So you're not stepping out with your knee back, not stepping out with your knee way in front, knee over the middle of your leg. And other side, step out and step back. Now step back, center, and step back, center, and reaching up, reaching up, reaching up, reaching up, reaching up as high as you can. And something is reaching down from the sky, and you're reaching up to touch their fingers. They're reaching down and you're reaching up. They're just out of reach. And drop your hands. And let your head tip forward. And imagine that your spine is a series of blocks stacked up on top of each other. And you're just going to let the top block go and let the next block. So you're going down your spine one block at a time. Let your arms relax, let your shoulders relax, and just go down one block at a time. You don't have to go slow, but just do it really deliberately, one block at a time. And when you get all the way down to your hips, you let it just drop, and you're just hanging off of your hip joints. And now imagine your tailbone is going to point at the ground. So your hips rotate till your tailbone is pointing at the ground, and then stack those blocks up from the bottom up, one at a time, all the way until you get up to your shoulders and your head is still hanging forward. And then let your head come up, just floating up. So you let your head go forward till you're hanging off the top of your spine. You let your spine go down one block at a time. And then when you get to the bottom, you just let everything hang. You let it go. One at a time, one at a time. Arms are heavy, hanging loose. When you get as far down as you can go, you just let your hips go. And then point your tailbone at the ground. Come back up, come back up. And then don't lift your head, let it float up. Okay, I'm going to change my video settings a little bit. Okay, so if you're using Zoom and you want to see what I'm doing more clearly, you can pin my video. I'm not going to put it on Spotlight right now because I want to see what you guys are doing. That hotel room doesn't look so messy.
I just created a cone of cleanliness for the camera.
Okay, now, again, doing this as easily as possible so you're not straining. Just start with 1 foot forward and let your back leg slide behind you until your knee touches. And your body is upright and you're feeling like and then you can come up. And so if this is a strain, then just go as far as you can where it's not a strain. If you can go all the way down and touch your knee without it being a strain, that's fine. And my legs aren't pushing me up or down, my body is floating up. And if this is as far as I can go before it starts becoming a trouble, that's far enough. But if you can go all the way down and touch your knee and then come up. And the other thing is if your knee is touching the thud, see if you can let it touch like a feather landing. And just do this at whatever speed seems appropriate for 3 more times. 1, 3. So I used to do these until I couldn't do them anymore, and then I would fall over, and that was probably too much. And that's why I say do it while it still feels easy. Yeah. And focusing on a sense of something is lifting you up rather than you're working your legs. If you get to the point where you feel like you're really working your legs, go back to something is letting you down and lifting you up.
That's about it for my knees right at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's don't work it too hard. If it starts giving you trouble, just take it easy. Okay, so now we'll go on down to the floor and start with, so if you feel like you're falling over backwards, bring your legs in until you can sit up without straining. Without straining. And if you can't sit up without straining, it's okay to use your hands to support your upper body by lifting your upper body so that your hips can be relaxed. Okay, so with your hips as relaxed as you can, so you're not straining, just rotate your hips forward so that you feel like your stomach is pressing forward against your belt if you've got a belt. And breathe in, down, all the way into your tailbone. And let the breath go out. So the idea here isn't to bend your hips, it's to bring your stomach up and forward towards your belt. And if I get to the point where I can be sitting up without having to hold myself up, I've made a little bit of progress. So ultimately, if this joint opens up, you'll be able to, bring the front of your body forward more and more and more. But bringing your body forward isn't the release. It's bringing your hips up and bringing your stomach forward. And relax. So don't stress and strain, but just see if you see what the limits of movement are for where you are right now. Now bring feet together, hold ankles. If I hold my feet, I put rotation into my knees that they don't really support anymore. So I hold my ankles. And again, I'm not pulling my ankles in. This is just to sort of give me some stability. And I'm going to bring my belly forward towards my feet. So I'm not really pulling with my arms. I'm just using this to stabilize myself. And I'm trying to bring my belly forward towards my feet and take a deep breath in. And let that go and shake out the legs. And if you've got room and a surface, start with one knee down, one knee up, and start not by trying to rock back, start by imagining something is pressing on your belly and it's making you sort of deform, like you're being through a circle that's slightly smaller than you are. So you have to, deform to fit into it. You just go, whoa. And eventually it's made out of rubber so you can fit through and come back. And as you fit through, you need to duck your head so that it won't get caught. And as you come forward, your head can come up. So when you're coming forward, your head isn't staying down, your head is coming up. So as I'm going back, my head is tucking in so it fits through and it's coming back up again. And now let's change feet. And again, starting with a sense of something pushing your hips and belly back. And as it goes back, you fit through the slot and you come up. Now this one people will strain over. So again, do this as much as you can without feeling like you're straining. You're going to go back and you're going to come forward and up on one knee. So that's, your head is going up. And you're going to go back and you're going to go up. So if you're going forward, then just, take a second, reorganize. And we're going to get to here where you're going up. So as your spine comes up, you come up, your head goes up, everything comes up. And just do this 3 or 4 times at your own pace. And let's change which knee is up. And I'll add one more thing, which is this sense of kokyo, this outer edge of the arms. See if you can just feel that sense so that as you're coming up, you're not reaching forward. You're just, again, you're expanding the rubber circle that you're fitting yourself through. You're making space for yourself to go up. You're not pushing forward. You're not pushing out. You're just clearing a space for yourself. And so I'm going back and up. Back and up. And standing back up again. So this is a lot more of this than I've done in several months. So I'm going to take it kind of easy. I used to do this almost every day, and then I just got out of the habit because I wasn't going to the dojo. I'd come to depend on that routine to just get me up and moving. So this is and we'll go through one more section of the sort of pattern of movement, starting with one foot in front. That hand is in front, palm down. The other hand comes in and meets it palm up. And close your little finger right around the first top knuckle of your other little finger, and then the second finger and the third finger and the index finger, and the thumb closes last. And the thumb should be right on this first phalange of your thumb. So you're basically, the hand that's being held, all of your fingers are kind of being squeezed together, but you're not really squeezing, you're just closing your hand. Now, let your shoulders relax, let your elbows relax. Drop everything, that they're sort of hanging off of this point. And that's where the stretch across the back of the wrist starts. This elbow is down, this elbow is down. Shoulders are down. Knees are loose. And you're going to bring your center under it and let this rise up a little bit. So you're coming, center is coming forward underneath it. And this is, the wrist is going up, but you're not pushing it up, you're not forcing anything. You're going to the point where it starts to feel uncomfortable. And if you think it's painful, don't do it that hard. Come up to the point where it's uncomfortable. And let it go. Let the energy flow out through your fingertips. Change sides. So again, starting palm down, other hand comes down on top, little finger right across the little finger knuckle, close little finger, and relax the shoulders, relax the elbows, relax the whole upper body. Bring your center underneath it, and bring the center underneath it. Bring the center underneath it. So these waza, these movements and techniques, they're for physical preparation and for, toning, but they're also misogi, which is cleaning things out of your body. And for me, the cleaning is removing unnecessary tension. So as I remove unnecessary tension, I can increase the amount that the wrist moves physically. And it decreases the amount of discomfort or pain because I'm opening this joint up and I'm getting all the things that make it hurt to bend out of the way. If you have arthritis or other things that have a physical reason for why the joint doesn't move, this won't necessarily help it. But if the reason that your joint won't move is because you're holding on to things unconsciously, this is what this will help you. So it's not magic, it's, clearing the stuff out of the way that you are using to keep yourself from doing what you want to do. We don't do that on purpose, but we do it. Okay, second stretch. One foot is in front, Look at the palm of your hand. Bring the other hand up behind it. You're making a butterfly. Your thumb is right between your Vulcan salute fingers, and little finger closes right around the base of the thumb. So you are above your wrist, completely on your hand. Rotate your hand until the little finger is pointing back at you. So one way to look at it is you're rotating the hand. The other hand is the hand that's gripping, straighten your wrist. So now the holding hand is completely, you know, the wrist is in alignment with itself. And now I'm not going to push this down. I'm going to rotate it away from me so that I'm lengthening my arm and bring it back up. I'm lengthening my arm. And it travels down in front of me, lengthens out, and comes back up. So I'm tracing an oval path that goes down close to me and comes back up further out. And again, it isn't important to twist the wrist as far as it can go, but you should start to feel this in your elbow and in your shoulder. I feel this in my elbow and in my shoulder, and it's preparation for a rotation like Kodagaish. So if I'm struggling against it in my own body, then my Kodagaish, it's all going to go into my wrist. If it goes through my wrist, into my elbow, into my shoulder, and body is being affected, and let that go. Other side, look at the palm of your hand, thumb between fingers, close little finger, and then all the other fingers are wrapping around the base of your thumb. Straighten your wrist. So the holding hand is, the wrist is now in alignment with itself. Relax your shoulders, settle into your hips, and then come out and back in, out and back in, out and back in. And if you're really picking up everything, you'll feel it starting to turn your body, but you're keeping your upright alignment. So but you're feeling the effect that it has all the way down into your hips and knees and legs. So if all you do is try and twist here and everything else is tense, you won't feel the release happening all the way down into your legs. And let that go. Let that go. Shake it out. And one more stretch that we frequently do is one foot in front, hand in front, turn your thumb down. The other hand, the thumb is up. Come up from underneath, little finger catches the thumb, and all the other fingers close, and your thumb is on top. Relax the shoulders, relax the elbows, let everything hang down. Imagine this is sort of like suspended on a string, and your whole body is hanging down. And now you're going to bring your hand towards your nose, leaving everything down. And as you do this, you'll feel this elbow is affected, this shoulder is affected, your whole side of your body is affected, and release, and release. And so how hard you grip and how much you twist your wrist isn't the point. It's, can you feel it going all the way down into that side of your body? Because, and then you'll notice it as you get to that point, the gripping hand can put less and less and less pressure. And so you're learning how to let go of the resistance in this side of your body that makes this painful. And you're also learning how little pressure it actually takes, if the alignment is correct, to apply Nikkyo. So it has a practical aspect as well as a Misogi aspect. So you can study how Nikkyo works, the harder you resist with the hand that's being stretched, the harder you twist with this hand, the less you're actually teaching yourself Nikkyo. And change sides. Take a deep breath, relax everything, and then see where the Nikkyo happens. So you're seeing what pathways go through your body that cause your hips to move. Not how much force or how far can I bend at this wrist, but what are the pathways that disturb my hips, and let that go and shake it out. So that's about right. That's about right. So let's go ahead and make sure you've got room. You don't want to pay for the lamps that you break, so. And just holding it at about thirds. Again, feel your feet on the floor, your knees are flexible, your hips are easy to move, your arms are hanging down. And imagine that the Jo is lighter than air, and now you're hanging off of it. And it tips over backwards, and it's your arms are hanging back, and it comes up, and now you're hanging off of it, and it drops forward. And just go through that where you're hanging off of it, and then it tips over backwards and drops forward. Just do that a couple of times at your own speed. And it's at this point I notice whether my lower back is starting to have, be happy with me today or not. And touch it to the floor, touch it to the floor, and touch it to the floor. And now we'll begin with the 30 movements. So let's just go through it once, and I'm going to try to count it off. I always kind of lose track of where the numbers are. So for one, here's the Jo. Imagine it is a reflection of your alignment from the center of the earth up through your spine, out up to heaven. And so this is 1. 2, spiraling up. 3, spiraling down. 4, set. 5, thrust. 6. What is 6? Back. So it's 5, 6. 7 is up, down. 8, thrust. 9, hand change. 10, other side. Nikkyo, hand change, is 11. 12 is a thrust, Nikkyo. 13 is a strike, Nikkyo. 14, Sankyo, hand change, over back behind you. 15, thrust in front of you, Sankyo. Right hand turns over, left hand releases, sweep around. 16, 17, Yankyo. 18, hand change, thrust back, so you're in Nikkyo. 19, thrust forward. Turn your hips. 20, thrust back. 21, sweep. 22, hand turns over, Gokyo, rotate, rotate 23, 24, 25, your hand rotates, thumbs facing away from you, and down. 26, 27 over your head, 28, rotate, thumbs pointing away, sweep around. 29, change sides, hands turn over, Nikyo, thrust back. So I drilled on this for about 6 months before I got all the sequence, and that was because I had nice people who learned it and then showed it to me, you know, step by step. I don't know how much experience either of you have had with this, or if you've ever had that opportunity to have people just show it to you one step at a time. I know personally, that's what it takes for me to actually be able to learn a sequence. Okay.
So I've done it many times, but never have I learned it one step at a time.
Okay. Well,
however, the last time you just went through it, after about move 21, all the swingy stuff was above the camera and I couldn't see any of it.
okay. Well, let's start just by, all right, so I'm going to go through the 5 hand positions. So, Ikkyo, both hands are slightly on top. The V of your thumb and forefinger are on top. And the sort of the ready position is this, the backhand is right at the end of the staff. It's not necessarily here, but it's just that the edge of your hand is at the end of the staff, and your hand is right near that sharp hip bone. It's sort of a good reference point. So it's not here, it's not up here. It's just kind of resting on your hip bone. Your body should be able to be fairly relaxed, and this hand is not more than about 1/3 of the way up the staff, you know, for a Joe. And the thrust comes, your hand comes right about level with your sternum. So you're not going way out past your body. Thrust. If you're not close enough to touch your target, take a step. Don't reach out past your own balance. So thrust and then back, thrust and then back, thrust and then back. So that's the basic Ikkyo thrust. Now, from here, we go to a over the head. This is blocking something. So you want the staff to be on your center line, covering the top of your head. Thrust over my head, not over here, not over here. So that if there were an imaginary partner, you'd be looking at them, you know, your eyes would be looking at them, one on each side of the staff. And it's not like, you know, it's along your center line. Yeah. And then this down isn't just take your hands down, it's still the point is still on that center line. So the tip of the spear is in line with the, you can give yourself an imaginary partner that you are communicating with through the spear. Thrust. Every time you thrust, it is towards something. It's not just, and as you're thrusting, your body is aligned with what you're thrusting towards. So those are I mean, the movements themselves are, I won't say they're simple. There's not, I don't think there's a lot of complexity to them, but there are certain details, like this isn't just holding the stick up, it's holding the stick up so that it is online with me and something outside of me, whether it's a corner of the room that you line up to, or a piece of stripe on the wallpaper, or, you know, a person. You're always doing this in relationship to the world around you. So here's Ikkyo. We do the first set of movements are all in Ikkyo. So I'm thrusting, covering, thrusting, covering. Well, actually, sensei does it just right up the middle, right down the middle. So you're going to bring both hands to the center, left hand drops down. Hands stay in the same position. You take a step back, and now the left hand comes up, and they're right next to each other, and the thumbs pointing at each other makes it Nikkyo, compressing Nikkyo. And I'm going to turn my hips so that they're out of the way, so that this can come through without hitting me in the leg. If I don't move, it hits me in the leg. So I'm not bringing it out here, I'm bringing it right through. Yeah, so the rotation comes from my body turning, not my arms swinging. And as I come through, I let my right hand come to the end, so that when I'm finished, this is as though I were swinging up and either blocking a strike or catching somebody up under the chin. And again, it's covering my center line. It's not just coming up to the side. I'm swinging through, and as I come through, I cover my center line. That's why it's coming close enough that if I don't move my body, it's going to hit me. And then I come down, cover a strike or a thrust, thrust, strike. And this is all in Nikkyo. So let's do from the first Ikkyo movement. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, hand change to Nikkyo, swing, 11, 12, 13. So some of the details, like move hips to clear space so that the staff just moves right through it. Those are important, and they're things that won't necessarily get pointed out every time. But if you keep in mind a few basic principles, like if you're not sure where the staff should be, try putting it on a center line between you and your imaginary partner. So here, the other thing is, if you're not sure where your staff should be when you do a strike or a thrust, imagine what would happen if it got shoved back into you. Would it miss you, or would it stab you? So if you're doing something and it's right here, well, you get gutted. If it's right here, it misses you. So those are some sort of things you can think about that will help you to make your own adjustments and understand what's going on. It's kind of like if you're learning how to do, you know, someone's doing shomanuchi, and you just keep practicing. Someone's coming to do shomanuchi, and you just keep doing this. Then huh, but if you do this, so if you're looking for things that you can do to make your own adjustments and begin to learn the technique, once you've got the basic here, 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 start thinking in terms of, oh, keeping it close to the body without stabbing myself or hitting myself in the knee. So start from the number 4, 5. Just start from 4 to 5. So here, here, and just go on through it.
Right at the Nikyo is where I'm getting confused as which way to turn because you're facing me instead of facing away from me. Like,
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So your left hand is in the middle of the staff. Your right hand is at the end. Your right foot is forward because you just pivoted. Now you're going to step and thrust. So do it facing me. All right, start facing away from me. Start facing away from me. You're going to go through the whole sequence. So 5 is, yes, there, 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 there. Now, the end that's pointing at the door is the end that's going to end up pointing at me when you finish swinging through. Okay? But, so you're facing here, it's going to drop and come up. So it's an uppercut.
okay. So here.
So your right hand should come, let your right hand come until it's close to the end of the staff. And your left hand is close to the middle of the staff. And you're going to let the left end of the staff drop down, swing past your knees, and come up.
Like that.
So I'm going to do it backwards.
Okay.
You do it like like you're standing in a mirror with me.
Oh, okay.
That's it. Now, hands in Nikyo. Hands in Nikyo. Yes. Now, start with it in front of you, facing the direction that it's pointing.
Okay, so it's here. So I've just
One,
that.
2. Now, bring your left hand forward. Let your right hand slide back. Now you're going to swing that like you're going to hit yourself in the knee, but you move your knee out of, there you go.
All right. All right. Okay, so here.
And now let both hands drop and thrust.
And make it.
Thrust. Yeah. And now, like you're going to do a showman strike, but just keep your hands right in the same position and lift it up and hit somebody like you're going to do a showman strike with the long end of the staff.
Oh, okay.
There, that's it. Okay.
Okay.
So start from the last thrust and then the hand change for the 2 strikes.
Okay, so
Thrust, 1, there,
here,
and
here.
swing it through, up, and thrust, and strike. Okay, that's the sequence, and your hands should still be thumbs facing in.
Yep.
One thing that
Thank
will
you.
help you, one thing that will help you do this, at least it helps me, is to pick an end of your staff to be a spear point. Because there are only about 2 places where you use the blunt end as a striking or thrusting end. There's a couple of places where you use that, but most of the time you're cutting or striking with this spear point end. There now, when you go to Sankyo, you go blunt end, sharp end, but it really does help, because if you ever get confused, you'll just think, well, which end is the sharp end? That's the end I'm generally, you know, holding out and moving around out here, rather than having it point back at me. It is rare martially to use the sharp end pointing towards yourself. That's a special technique. Okay, so
For special martial artists.
yes. Now, so we've gotten up through portion. We've started doing some of the Nikyo techniques. So the next part is after you've done here. So after you've done this up, down strike, you're going to turn your right hand over. So now both of your thumbs are pointing back at you. And you're going to turn your hips and let this go back over your shoulder. So it's not just jabbing behind you, it's turning that direction. And then turning in this direction. So this is a Sankyo. So it goes 14, 15, and now you're going to let your right hand turn over again. So you're kind of in Nikyo, but then you're going to let the tip swing around. So Sankyo, Sankyo, right hand turns over, left hand turns over, and you bring it all the way around to here, and you're facing in the first direction, and the hands are now in an Ikkyo position, but you're not going to focus on the Ikkyo, you're going to focus on weight underside. And as my weight drops underside, there is a feeling of rotation in the hands as though my elbows are dropping too. And this is Yankyo. So one thing that this taught me is that I used to think of Yankyo as like trying to push somebody's arm down. It's really, I'm holding contact with them and I'm dropping, and that drop turns into a drop through the whole system, which includes my partner. So I'm not trying to push the staff down. I'm not trying to twist the staff. I'm letting it all drop. And if everything is dropping, you will feel a twist in your grip.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you're doing this Yankyo, does it feel similar to when we do the anvil dropping sword striking class?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it really does.
Is it just off to one side more, like favored
Well,
over
as
one leg?
is the case with all of these things, if you feel like it's going to hit you, then your hips need to rotate some more so it doesn't hit you. but I'm not, I'm still keeping my flow going out, but I'm not leaning out into it. My flow is going out, but I'm still here. I think more than anything, the biggest thing I've learned about Yankyo in the last couple of years is that Yankyo really is about connection to the earth in me. And once I'm fully connected to the earth, then, I can't believe I'm actually talking this way, but once I'm connected to the earth, I just feel a connection through me, through partners, and they become more, grounded more down into the earth. As soon as I start pushing on them, I'm lifting myself up and I'm losing my connection. So Yankyo. Now we're going to, so let's go through the, let's go through that sequence from the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, hand turns over, other hand turns over, sweep around, Yankyo. Okay, so now your right hand is in the middle, your left hand is on the end of the staff, your thumbs are both facing away from you, but you're not thrusting, you're dropping with outward extension. Now, right hand turns over, left hand stays pointing in the same direction, but you let it slide as you thrust behind you. And it's not just, again, it should be your hips, you don't hit yourself in the hip, and thrust in front. Let your hips turn so that if you don't move, you hit yourself in the leg. So now my spear point is thrusting back, and you're in Yankyo this whole time. Now, this is a deflection and a strike. And as it comes up, your hands are in Nikkyo, and I'm going to let it turn over into Gokyo and let it come down. The tip comes down past my shoulder, and I'm covering my head.
I can't see what you're doing in those last few moves because
Okay.
it's above the camera.
So,
Sorry.
We're here, Nikkyo, here, hand turns over, past my shoulder, cover my head. Right hand is in the middle, left hand is on the back. Hands are in Ikkyo orientation, and I'm protecting my head.
So that
Okay.
open hand that we have when protecting the head, this hand,
That's my affectation.
when the hand's open like that, is that a feeling of Gokyo? No?
Okay, Gokyo. So let's see. So I've come up here. Gokyo is to keep this from coming over. I turn my hand so it can't come back into me. And it goes down past my shoulder. So this is one I'm still discovering, because for years, you do Gokyo and you're taught, oh, Gokyo is just like Ikkyo, only all of these things are kind of close together because you're dealing with similar movements, but the reason that they're different is not always super clear. But if I'm here and the staff is gonna maybe continue on down, I go like this, and now I'm able to deflect it past me. So this is what I think Jack Sensei would call a place where you can study and research. But the point is, you're going from Nikkyo to Gokyo. So the hands are now in the thumbs pointing away position again, but it's to keep this flowing past your shoulder, and both hands are in Ikkyo position again. My hand isn't really open at this point. That's my bad habit. And from here, you're going to take a step back, your hands come together, and the tip rotates. So right hand is in front, your left hand comes to the center, the tip is going to rotate to the right all the way around, and now your left hand is in front. And you're protecting your head. So from Nikkyo, Gokyo, 1, 2, right hand is in front, step back, left hand is in front.
Can you do it once more and just tilt the camera up just a little bit?
Yeah, I can't see what any of the hand or the staff are doing.
Okay. Okay, so
you
back, there, Gokyo change. It misses your shoulder. It misses your shoulder, and spear point is facing forward, right hand is in front, left hand is on the handle and on the back. I'm going to drop back, let it rotate, and now my left hand is in front.
That part I got, but the part before it where you're like spinning it over your head or something, I don't know. I have no idea.
I understand. That took a while to catch because it looks like it's a couple of different movements, and Jack Sensei always counts it as one movement. So here, hand turns over. I'm going to let the point drop past my right shoulder. My hands come together in the middle. I'm going to let the point drop past my left shoulder. Hands come together in the middle, and I'm back where I started. So it goes down and up, down and up, down and up, down and up.
And are the feet moving with that? I forgot.
Yeah, as it comes down, I'm stepping back. As it comes up, I'm stepping back so that.
So it's a down with each step, kind of.
So let's just try this movement. You're going to have the staff in front of you, and you're going to let it drop down. You're going to let it drop down. Your hands are close together in the middle, and you're rotating your hips, and as you're rotating your hips, the staff is just forming a figure 8 that goes down one side, down the other side, down one side, down the other side.
So it's almost like the feeling for me right now is almost just as if as we're moving those palms, it's creating a balanced pivot point as we're
So start with the spear pointing up, and you're going to let it tip over to one side and up, and tip over to the other side and up. One side, other side. One side, other side. And it's moving from the hips. And you don't have to go fast, and you don't have to use a lot of power. It's just, I turn my hips this way, I turn my hips that way.
So it's like a big figure 8.
It's a big figure 8. So I'm starting both hands in the middle. As I turn to this side, I let the tip drop. And it goes down and it comes up. And I turn to the other side, let the tip drop.
I have a feeling if there was actually the weight of a spear, the heavy end would make this flow even more smoothly.
So as I turn my hips, the tip drops and comes up and drops and comes up. So Chuck, Cliff, for right now, you're just gonna hold it in front of you, turn your hips to one side and let it drop, let it come up.
Which part drops? which end drops?
Which end is sharp?
This one.
Okay, so let the sharp end drop and come up. Let the sharp end
It comes
drop
up on the
and
other
come up.
side or the same side?
You're just holding your hands in front of you.
Right.
So it's going to drop to this side because you're turning your hips to this side.
Okay.
Now it's going to come up, turn your hips to the other side. Keep your hands in front of you where you can see them. Keep your elbows down, elbows down. And just let it go. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
You spun it?
It goes to the side, the tip drops down and comes back up again.
Okay. Here
Down.
and up. So it comes up the same side.
Yeah.
Doesn't come up the other side.
So here's what I'm doing if I don't turn my hips very much. I go here.
Well, if you think they're too small or uncomfortable,
So
you think it's just that they're too
here.
So it's going here.
And then
So draw a big figure 8 with the tip.
I don't see where there's a figure 8 coming. That
maybe a sneaker that you like.
Try this. Try this. Here's the tip.
I understand that, but I told you
You're going to make a figure 8.
Okay.
Here's one circle. Whoop. Here's the other circle. Here's one circle. Here's the other circle. So the circles are on each side of my body. The crisscross is in the middle.
Okay.
If I were to my elbows in and hold my hands like you have them and allow my elbows and hands to be almost more restrictive just to try to get the movement, would this be, by the way, the tip of the spear is an elephant to help me right now.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Excellent. You've speared an elephant.
No, I was holding on. It's pretty strange. So with that, I'm trying to keep my elbows and hands relatively in the same spot. But so I take a step, I turn my hips first a little bit, take a step. That weight just kind of naturally falls back and down with the step. And then when I decide to change directions, my foot comes up and then just the flow, it goes down again. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good starting place. That's a good starting place. And then see if you can, once you've established, kind of holding everything down, just let them loosen up a little bit. Because you should be able to do this. See, my hands are not going up past my heart.
And the rotation point in your hands as it goes back and forth, is it kind of in that V, that light balance V?
That's something I'm still figuring out. If you can do it, keeping it in contact with the palms of your hands and not letting your hands open up a lot, you'll start to learn something from that. That's it, Chuck. That's it, Cliff. That's it. So now You're doing it a lot with the hands. See how much you can do it with your hands quiet and it's from your hips.
As if the spear weighed about 1,000,000 pounds.
Yeah. Now, right now, you're doing it with most of the spear up here. It might be a little easier to learn if you let it be more in the middle. A little bit more in balance, yes. So this is one of, I don't remember which name Jack Sensei gives this, but this is one of the basic movements that you can just do this, you know, for a little while and start to try to feel it more in your hips, more in your hips. So without taking a lot of steps, see if you can do it just rotating hips, rotating hips.
That's a nice hip stretch.
And if you hit yourself in the leg, that's fine. That's how we learn.
You need an elephant.
You need an elephant. Okay, so that's a basic movement. We'll do one more basic movement, and these are the flow hand changes. So start with it in your right hand, and you're going to let the tip turn to the left, and your left hand is going to come in on top, thumb down. So both of your thumbs are down, and it's in your left hand. And you're going to let it rotate, and your right hand comes in on top, thumb down. So it's just side to side, side to side. And the hand that it's changing to is on top, and your thumbs are pointing down. The fire hand change.
Fire hand change.
This seems to be, he considers this fire. And that's a part of the teaching I don't fully understand yet. Now, the second hand change is the other direction. So I'm going to let the tip drop to the outside, and my hand is going to come in so that both hands are palm up, and I'm coming from underneath, coming from underneath, coming from underneath. Both palms are up. And this is the water hand change. So the tip is going to the outside, both hands are palm up, goes to the outside. So it goes all the way around and then reverses.
So the water hand change ends up on the edge with the palm down, and the fire hand change ends up with the palm up, like when you go to the side.
Right. So this is just a practice to sort of get the feeling into your hands. You don't want to let it overturn so that you're, you know, cranking things out. You're just getting used to the hands changing. Okay, now we're going to put them together. So I'm going to start out water, fire, water, fire, water, fire, water, fire. So one hand is water, one hand is fire. Yes.
I need to work on my water and exhale.
Okay, so you can work on fire, fire. You can work on water, water. You can work on water, fire. And when you do water, fire, the staff will keep going in the same rotation. And then you go other hand, water, fire, and it goes in the other direction. So these are the components that all that stuff that's happening where you can't follow along, these are the components of that. These are some of the components of that. So you can practice doing water on the side, water, On this side, water. On this side, water. On this side, water. On this side, water. I'm still learning how to do this. You can practice doing fire, fire, water, fire, water on each side.
I just lost it. Can you do one fire and one water very slowly?
Okay, so fire, water, fire, water, fire, water. I'm doing it left hand on top, right hand under, left hand on top, right hand under. You can also do it left hand under, right hand on top, left hand under, right hand on top. It's just water is under, fire is on top. So these are some of the components of the hand changes. And in the movement sequence, we do, when we've gone here, 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 there's a section, so we did the Gokyo, now we're here, and now we do a fire hand change to here, and that's what that rotation is. So you can practice these, you know, individual component movements until you've got some ease and fluidity with them. I mean, one of the things that you learn is how to do it without smashing your hands up. You can learn to do it without ending up feeling like you're, you know, torquing your rotator cuffs out. And the point is, so Cliff, one more time, just do the figure 8. If you do it with one hand, just do it with one hand. Do it with one, yeah, that's it, there you go. So you're drawing loops, and the loops go down and down and down and down and down and down, and you can change hands. And while you're doing this, see how much you can do it from your center hips and let your upper body, shoulders, and arms be relaxed and not really, because see how much you can keep your upper body sort of going from side to side, but not twisting a lot. So keep that sense of, oh, you're hanging off of a chain, and the chain's just twisting from side to side. And if you hit yourself in the crotch, that's a lesson to learn.
So another question, if I may. So if, from what Sensei said, Ikkyo is more of a thrust, Nikkyo is containment. I forgot Sankyo. Yankyo is the anvil drop. For the fire water changes, are those essentially like a pivot point or a spiral directional change? Did he describe it a certain way?
They're flows and movements. So if I'm going from Ikkyo to Yankyo, there's a change there. If I'm going from thrusting to striking, there's a change there. If I'm going from here to there, there's a flow. So the flows are not really, in my understanding, the flows are not really related to the Ikkyo, Nikkyo. Those are more like configurations of flow, and these are like flows that can fit into, that can become a configuration. So one is a structure that needs to be energized. The other is energy that can then be used to create a structure. That's my limited understanding of it. It does help if you can get to the point where doing this I mean, look, I was hitting myself in the knees and in the face for a long time learning this. And then I got to the point where my hand felt like somebody had been, because every time I would do this, the stick would like hit pressure points in my knuckles. So I had to learn to relax my grip and move from my hips. And now I'm not hitting myself in the knees or in the head or in the shoulders anymore. And I can do this for a fairly, you know, extended period of time and not feel like I'm tearing things up. But you do that by starting off slow and moving, letting the tip lead, tip lead, tip lead, and really working on making this into a movement from the hips. And the staff, I don't want to be pushing the staff. I want to let the balance of the staff and the movement of the hips feed on itself. It's like learning to make yourself go in a swing. You know, after a while, it doesn't matter how hard you're pushing. It's that you're moving your balance in the correct timing, and it builds up. It builds up. But getting that correct timing, you know, you're out there and you're kicking your legs in the swing and you're not going anywhere. You really do just have to take it easy and feel the movement.
And is the most relaxed point you found right here?
I'm still working that out. For me, whenever I'm holding the staff, what I'm trying to do is find this crease. But that's not true of every single situation. But most of the time, I'll just come back. I want it to be going from here to here across my hand, not across my knuckles, but across the palm of my hand in general. Now, I don't know if that's exactly right. It's just that's the way I do it, that I don't end up with my hands being hurt. Because you know, if I hold it too tightly or I hold it wrong, just holding the staff and swinging it around, I start feeling like my knuckles are getting bruised just from the pressure of the staff against my hand. So that's just feedback telling me that my body isn't flowing. My hands are absorbing more force and impact than is good for them. You know, that's what pain is. It's telling you you're doing something that's more than what you really should be doing to yourself.
I really like these because I've been kind of focusing almost on the fingers and the feet to heal. Like instead of ignoring the finger pointing to the moon, I'm focusing on it. But I feel like if I get the grip right and the flow right, I get spontaneous healing past the missing body parts from where
yeah.
surgery.
Well, I mean, it's like Jack Sensei has been saying, there's a time for kind of doing study and research, which is, you know, get the gross mechanical parts out of this hand up here, this hand down here, that sort of thing. Thumbs down, hands up, thumbs down, hands up, thumbs down, hands up. And once you get the basic mechanicals of that, you need to start letting your body relax, doing it without, you know, injuring yourself. Trying to imagine what it would feel like if it was a flow coming through your body and moving the staff. Is that what's actually happening? I don't know. But if I imagine that's happening, the quality of my movement changes. And it changes in a direction that seems to be more correct to me, that feels more correct.
Natural, yeah.
Yeah, I shy away from saying natural or unnatural. It feels more correct to me. And cultivating that sense of, you know, not doubting when you go, oh, that feels right.
Got it.
You know.
And when we're doing these, you mentioned once before, we keep it heart level or below? Is that during the 30 movement Misogi also, or just while we're practicing the basics?
Just while you're doing that practice, because that's just, I said that particularly because Cliff was trying to like taking it over his head and stuff, and I just wanted him to know that you certainly can do that. I mean, and once you've got the basic, sort of pattern of the flow, don't feel constrained by that. But it's just, he was trying to duplicate something and he was adding components to it that weren't there. And so I know how difficult it can be to look at a movement and just go, oh, that's the movement. Because I have trouble with that. I've had trouble with that my entire life. Someone could show me showman strike, and I would be going, so I have through many years of practice learned how to teach myself how to learn new movements, which means sometimes I break it down a lot more than other people do. I don't always get the breakdown correct.
It's kind of like the timing Jack was talking about.
Yes. Well, there's the sense of timing, and there's you're looking at what somebody is doing, and it's just not connecting to, you don't know what to do with your body to have that shape happen.
Yeah.
And you end up doing all kinds of other things that aren't the shape.
I think so. I want to learn music, but I am by no means as proficient as those in the audience. But it's almost as if when we do the 30 Joe Misogi, if just like the thrust is, let's say, a full note or a whole note, if that's what it's called. But when it gets to the fire, water, spinning circle, the camera's not fast enough changes. It's almost like those should be, it speeds up, but it almost feels like to get it on screen, that instead of keeping the same pace as the rest, that those should be at half pace or quarter pace, for the camera to keep up with the motions because of the
Yes. So 10 years ago, when he first was developing this practice, he took us through it. Okay, today's class, we're going to do the first 5 movements. And we did the first 5 movements, and we did the first 5 movements, and we did the first 5 movements. And then he said, okay, now we're just going to practice fire, water, hand change for a few minutes. And we would just do that. It's like, that wasn't in the first 5 movements. It was just, here's a hand change. And so by the time we got to doing the hand change, 3 or 4 weeks later, when we got, now we're going to do movements 6 through 11. Now we're going to do movements, 12 through. So each class was building, adding more pieces. And then we would stop and say, now we're just going to practice doing figure 8s. And now I just want you to move without concern for any, I just want you to just move. And that would always be included. And so a lot of people, when they said, now it's time to just move, they would be doing pieces of what we'd been practicing that day, because you get facility by just, I won't say stop worrying, because for some of us that doesn't happen, but don't be concerned with whether you're doing the right thing, just do something. And you'll go, oh, and if you keep a few principles, for me, if I keep a few principles in mind, such as anytime I finish a strike or a thrust, I just want it to be in line with whatever I imagine it is that I'm lining up to. And just having that, and I'm in line with what I'm lining up to, but I'm not falling into or backing away from. I'm just in line with something, and it's giving me greater alignment. That's a reference point that I've come to use in my own practice. I pass it on because if you're not clear on what you're supposed to do, you can always go back to, am I on balance? Am I in line? It doesn't matter whether you got the movement right. If you're off balance,
Right.
It doesn't, in some ways, it doesn't matter if you got the movement incorrect if you're on balance.
Right.
Because I think that the more important part of the practice is to be moving from balance to balance, and not whether you get the techniques correct. There are people that don't agree with that, but something I've learned from teaching kids is if they're moving from balance to balance, they'll do something that's interesting and you'll learn from it. Whether they can do the technique or not actually doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We practice technique so that, because that's how that's how this learning has been, you know, sort of created to be passed on from person to person. But it's just the box that the present comes in.
I have
You know, the techniques are the wrapping. What you learn, you know, once you've opened that box and now you've got something. Now you've got something. You can, you know, you might save the box because you want to pass it on to somebody else.
Right. May I ask another question? It's going to sound like a technique question, but it really is
Sure.
the centering, balance, and trying to explore the energy. So the initial, or not necessarily with the 30 movement, but as part of the transition. So here's an up close. Ikkyo, Nikkyo, Sankyo, which almost if I just turn my hips becomes an Ikkyo, but it's a Sankyo going backwards. But when we go to Yankyo, all of those were one hand change, right? So Ikkyo, Nikkyo, Sankyo. But when we go to Yankyo, it's two hand changes. And it almost feels like to me that it should be not necessarily two movements, but if one hand changes here, almost as if that, like the silence between notes and music, almost as if take the breath like this, and then Yankyo. Because it's the two hand, and then it's.
Well, you're going from Sankyo into a sweep. So yes, both hands change because it's a sweep that ends in Yankyo.
So for that sweep, you move the right hand first? Is that what you're doing?
I move the right hand first so that as the sweep happens, the right hand rotates the staff into the left hand.
Okay, so it's right hand and let go of left hand.
Yeah.
Okay. It's hard for me to let go sometimes, you know.
One thing that, this is not something that Jack Sensei necessarily teaches, but one thing that you can do, again, and this is one of the little sort of things you can do to tell, you know, give yourself some feedback, is anytime you're doing a hand change, try not to let your hands come away from the staff. So if you're doing a hand change, always try to keep some kind of tactile contact with the staff. So you go, whoa, no, you go, whoa. If this hand is shifting a big shift, I'll bring it along the staff.
Okay. That feels more natural.
Yeah, yeah, and it helps. If you can't do that, then something's out of alignment.
But that letting go is what I'm missing. That letting go.
If you have to let go, so I'm not letting go. I'm keeping contact with staff. I'm not letting go. I'm keeping contact with the staff.
If you're passing the other hand, you have to let go for a minute.
Well, you let go, but you don't take your hand away.
Right. But I mean, like if I'm switching my hand from this side to this side, there is a point in which I'm letting go. Right.
You let go, but you keep your hands in contact. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was first taught this concept, it was from a teacher who, if your hand came away from you, he would always just reach out and go, bink, and he'd knock the staff right out of your hand. You know, and it was just like, but if you did this and he would go bink, you wouldn't lose the staff. So he had a martial, you know, sort of explanation for it. But then it turns out that just if I'm moving with my hands always in contact, so that even when it seems like they need to let go, no, I'm going to keep, even if it's just fingertips in contact with the staff, then all the rest of me has to adjust and become, you know, a little bit better aligned in order for that to happen. If my hands are coming apart, I'm off balance somewhere. If I can't reach it, you know, it's because, oh, it should be more here. It should be where I can, you know, and that's just not to say that it's not like that's a rule, you must always do that. It's like, that's a way where if you're having trouble figuring it out, notice whether you're taking your hands away from it. And if they are, see if you can do the movement without that happening. See if you can maintain that contact. Because after a while, you begin to realize that the grip isn't, it's contact. This is not as, you know, it isn't as complete a grip as just being in contact with the staff. So I'm not just holding it with my finger. My hands are, you know, it's like there's a magnetic connection. There's a connection that, and after a while you start feeling the direction of the staff and your body's moving with it, and you're not just swinging timber, but you're moving with the flow of the, you know, there's literally kinetic energy as this thing moves. So if you're moving in relationship to that energy, and your body's kinetic energy and the staff's kinetic energy are coordinated, then you will, you know, get a more of the outcome that we're looking for, which is your body being integrated with its environment and not in contention with, or out of balance with, or being just, you know, injured by.
If I may ask one more question and put myself in the weeds so I can get myself out of them, and just wording. So Ikkyo thrust, Nikkyo containment. Do you remember if he said what the word he gave for Sankyo was? Was there a?
No, I actually don't.
Because I'm gonna do Yonkyo as grounding or anvil, because that will help me remember.
Sure. But all of these are, I mean, we give names to techniques and we give qualities to techniques so that you have a framework in which to go, you know,
right.
You know, earth. You can have earth here. You know, you can say Ikkyo, fire. You can also have Yonkyo, fire.
Right. Yeah.
Nikkyo is, you know, I don't know what it is. What is it? Is it water? Is it fire? Is it earth? It can be all of those things. You can do it with all of those things.
We'll say lava, steaming lava.
Yeah. But one thing that I've learned from approaching Ikkyo as a thrust is that when you meet resistance, and the resistance is going to be reflected as something pushing back at you, it goes very naturally into Nikkyo, which is containment and you know, absorption. And then if they start pulling away from you, that goes very easily into Sankyo.
Yeah. I've seen with some of these feelings, like especially with the Ikkyo, when I started Aikido, we did Aikitaiso as more of a Misogi than exercises. But, yeah. So like the Ikkyo that we do with the with the Joe, like on the Ikkyo Undo, like the internal feeling,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing it correctly when I get that full center, like Pom Poko Tanuki
Yeah.
belly going on. So
Well, all of these techniques can be done with different focus and different emphasis. Some of it is a movement occurs and it's only after the movement has occurred that you're able to go, oh, that must have been Ikkyo. I mean, one of the I think the potential sort of little places you can get snagged in training is by putting a name on something, and then when that situation, when it's not an Ikkyo situation anymore, for whatever reason, thinking that you're doing something wrong.
right.
And you keep like trying to force it into being a situation that it is not. Now, for training and for safety purposes, we both have to, everyone has to kind of agree on what we're going towards. But it's like, if we're going into an Ikkyo situation and for whatever reason, there's super resistance to, completing the flow into Ikkyo, for me to force it is just me adding to the resistance. For Uke to like end up, I can't go any further, it naturally, turns into something else. And this is just, someone pointed out to me at one point, well, we've got these, 4 or 5 pinning techniques that we do as basic techniques. Each of them leads into the other if there becomes a point of resistance or, if Uke decides they're not going to go along with it, it naturally flows into the next technique.
Right.
So at some schools, you will keep on with the Ikkyo. At other schools, if somebody offers resistance, you'll just flow right into Nikkyo. Now, some people see that as contentious or wrong. I also like it if somebody offers resistance, I like to see where the resistance is happening in me that's bringing it up. Continue with the program as originally scheduled. Not by forcing it, but just saying, oh, there's a reason for that resistance. Let's see if I can deal with that, whatever part I'm playing with it from within me, and see if we can get past it. And that's, 99% of the time, your partner isn't resisting you because they want to resist you. They're resisting you because of the interaction that's happening. It's that 1% of the time of assholes who you don't,
I'm not an asshole. My body doesn't listen to me either.
No, well, it's like you're not doing it to be an asshole. You're doing it because there's something in the dynamic between of the practice that's bringing that out.
Right.
And for me, Misogi is not a spiritual thing. It's uncovering those things and letting them out of me. If there's a reason that there's resistance in this practice, that's not an error to be corrected. That's opportunity for sort of cleaning out. To use what always strikes me as somewhat overwrought, purification. If pure, I've got gunk in one of my filters. I need to, clean it out. I've got goo in the pipes. I need to clean it out. And the way you find out where the clogs are is by moving things through the system. So it really did, when I was learning how to do this, it really did help just to take the time to practice this movement and get so that I was doing it from my hips and not worrying about how fast you're going, but letting your hips and letting the staff, set its own speed. And you can get pretty fast as your sort of everything loosens up. So less upper body, just hold yourself upright. Just let the staff move. Let the staff move. Turn your hips from side to side.
When you're doing this, what does the contact with your feet with the ground feel like?
My weight is shifting slightly from side to side as my hips turn, but I'm not really shifting my weight from side to side. It's sort of like you're on a slightly, a slightly unstable surface, and so your balance is just moving enough to keep you from tipping over.
Now, are you more on like the front of your feet, the back of your feet, or like if the feet had two pivot points, like here and here?
Yeah. Well, you've got your heel and then your front knuckle joints, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you know what a ball change is?
No.
You step onto the ball of your big toe, and then there's the little toe. So you've got the ball of your big toe, you've got that ball of your little toe, and you've got your heel. Those are the 3 points of your foot contact. And it's mostly just shifting along the outer edge of my foot. It goes, actually, now that you mention it, the balance kind of goes across the outer edge of one foot and then figure 8 across the outer edge of the other foot.
Huh.
If I really analyze it.
Neat. And do you feel kind of like as you're turning is it your thighs slightly grip with the hip rotation?
I guess so. I don't know. I'm not really breaking it down that far. I'm mostly just trying to keep my knees loose and my hips moving from side to side and letting the tip of the spear trace down and down and down and down and down and down.
Cool. I just started looking at the tip, like Jack said, you look with Tai Chi, you look at the forward moving hand, and I just felt myself doing less movement.
So as it's coming across the front, the tip is going down. As it's coming across the front, the tip is going down, down. And you're doing a reverse one, Chuck. Cliff, you're doing a reverse one. So start with the tip going down. And it comes, oh, wait a minute. Oh, down, down. That's it. Yes. That's reverse. That's reverse.
That's good. We call this research if you do it on your own, right? That's good research.
Yeah. So you seem to naturally do it the reverse of me.
Is it the camera or is, let me see.
Oh,
Oh, that might be my left shoulder.
So if you let it go back like this and back like this, I don't even know how to do what you're doing.
So,
Okay, there we go, like that. Now I'm doing this.
like that.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go.
Got my knee.
Okay, now change hands. There you go. There you go. And then try doing it with both hands. Your hands don't need to change. You're just going both hands. This is not exactly the movement that happens as part of the pattern, but if you get familiar with this movement, then your body will be ready to do that other movement. Similarly, if you practice going fire, water, fire, water, fire, water, fire, water, water, fire, water, fire, water, fire. So when you do the fire change, the top hand comes in. Water change, the bottom hand comes up underneath. So these are building blocks. These are pieces of movement, and for me, it's like when I was being taught how to juggle, the first thing I was taught was just to hold a ball in my hand and to just go up and have it go straight up and land in my hand again, without, and then two hands and have it go up and land in this hand without having to move my hand, just learning to do that with one ball. Now, I never got past that point. Because the next thing you do is you've got two balls and you toss one up and then you toss the other one up, and they, because one's in the air, you've got time to toss the other one up, and then you catch the first ball and then you catch the second ball. I could not get so that I could do that more than 2 times.
That's the part that I got to. 2 balls.
Yeah, so I could do
3
2
balls.
balls, but I couldn't do it more than 2 times in a row. I'd always start dropping them after that. And some of my classmates, they got the 1 ball, they got the 2 balls, no trouble. They got the 3 balls, and they were just doing, and some of them had to practice doing the movement for, a few hours before they started getting it. But some people, they just picked it up and they started doing it. So I've never had a physical activity where that sort of facility comes easily to me. So I always break things down. I don't know if that's the best approach, but it's the ones that I've used. Now, these movements that we were finishing with at the end, I didn't do them with any facility, 8 years ago. I was hitting myself with the knee. I was hurting my hands. I was dropping the staff all the time, and that's okay. But I just kept working on it and, noticing, am I keeping my upper body not stiff, but relatively quiet? So not holding myself stiff, but just as the staff moves, I don't need to move my shoulders a lot. The staff, if my hips are turning and the staff moves, my shoulders in my head can be relatively steady and quiet. Not because I'm holding them that way, but it's just, I don't need to move them a lot in order for my hips to move the staff from side to side. And again, as you get a little bit of practice, you get so that you can show off to yourself and go fast and do all that stuff. And then you'll go fast enough that you hit yourself in the knee really hard. And that's, and if you stop there and never go back to it, fine, you've gone as far as you're going to go with that. Or you go, all right, I'm going to slow down. I'm not going to try to go super fast. And you get so that but the reason you hit yourself in the knee is because something in the flow glitched up, because your body won't actually intentionally hit itself. And the movements of the body when the flow is complete doesn't injure itself. It's when there's a hitch in the flow that, you know, for whatever reason, we accumulate these hitches, we accumulate these places where the flow gets congested. And some of this work is just, you know, it's maintenance. It's like brushing your teeth. You know, you don't say to somebody, you brush your teeth because you're bad and you've got food in your mouth. No, that's part of life. So the hitches aren't because you're bad, it's because you're living your life. And when you live your life, you're going to get stuff between your teeth. That's, and then you brush your teeth. And so this, for me, has always been about brushing my teeth. You know, and so when I brush my teeth and they're sore and it hurts to brush my teeth, I don't say, oh, I've been bad. I go, maybe I should do this a little bit better and a little bit more. You know, and I go to the dentist and he says, we're going to have to give you a deep cleaning because you haven't been taking care of things properly. And I could say it's because I'm bad, or I could say, I've been missing something out. So for me, Aikido is, you know, on a physical basis, it's like good hygiene. It's something you do to keep things working the way that they work best. And it also happens to be fun to hit people in the head with a stick. We've gone way over time.
Great class.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to stop now. I have some chores I need to do around the house. So
Maintenance.
yes, I hope this was helpful.
It was
I hope this was
extremely helpful. Thank you.
It was.
And I'll remind you something I mean to do, and I don't always do it, which is to practice something, even if it's just standing up and sitting down for a minute with attention to your posture. Just practice something intentionally on a regular basis.
Right.
When I was doing the movements at the beginning of class, I realized I've been meaning to do just do these rolls, you know, rocking back and forth. I've been meaning to do that every day, just as part of, you know, keeping my back from being stiff all the time. And I haven't been, so I'm going to see if I can, you know, start brushing my teeth
With the floor.
on a better schedule. Anyway, thank you all very much.
If I know at the beginning,